A woman sentenced to nearly a year for running a birth tourism scheme.
Fox 5 legal analyst Wendy Patrick joins us now to explain all of this. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so birth tourism, I think some people have heard of it. Some people are probably new to the term. What is this?
Well, it is what it sounds like it would be. It's been in the political sphere for almost a year and probably a lot longer than that. It's people that travel to the U.S. specifically to have a child that will be an American citizen automatically. This case is about exploiting that practice and counseling women to lie, to commit perjury, to not only lie on visa applications, but to hide their pregnancy. How easy is that? Oh. And basically be able to bring 500, at least according to the allegations, women from China to America specifically for that purpose, and making millions of dollars in the process.
So she was taking money from people to do this.
It was the taking money, Shali, and the counseling them to basically lie. So that the conviction was for conspiracy to commit immigration fraud and visa fraud. That was the crime for which she was sentenced. Now, you said nearly a year. Let me add a couple more facts. She has credit for time served. So right now, really all she faces, ironically, is deportation proceedings. How is that for poetic justice?
Wow.
When you talk about, I'm looking at the ripple effect. So we have all these women now in the U.S., and then there were kids that were born here. What happens to all of them?
Well, that's the problem, is it's a very complicated analysis that you have to go through to decide, well, you come here, you have a child, do you get to stay? Under what circumstances should you be able to stay? For how long? How are we going to track how many of those people remain legally in the U.S.? What do we do when their visa runs out? And then, of course, we also have the practical reality that it's not a crime to travel to the United States if you're pregnant.
Right.
And there's no, well, when are you due? No, nobody asks you those questions. It is the fraud and the basically exploitation of being able to manipulate those women. Now, of course, another question is, well, what happens to all of the people that actually lied on their applications and committed the perjury? That remains to be seen, because this is a first, this prosecution. But it's certainly not the last. And that's what we're all looking at now is, well, where do we go from here, and how do we prevent this kind of a scheme from continuing in the future?
Because they might argue, we didn't know, we were following the rules of somebody who told us they knew what they were doing. Didn't the president say that he was looking to maybe eliminate that law that usually you come to this country and if you're born here, you are automatically a citizen?
That's
the president was looking into getting rid of that altogether, which would, by definition, eliminate birth tourism as well.
Well, I know that he says a lot of things that we can't really take him literally on, and I'm not sure whether he was saying let's change the Constitution and amend that law, but I think he was complaining about the misuse of that law, about the exploitation surrounding it, the manipulation, the fraud, those types of things.
Which is a legitimate concern.
And that's exactly what this prosecution was about, is you can't use that type of a concession illegitimately, and you certainly can't convince all these women to come to the U.S. specifically for the purpose of taking their money, coercing them to lie, and then, of course, being the first prosecution that's actually been successful that we have here. Our prediction is it's not the last. We're going to see more of this kind of a crackdown.
Is there a way, though, for somebody who wants to follow the legal process and do it right and wait their turn, and they want their child to be born here in the U.S., is there a way for a woman to do that legally?
Well, there's no prohibition against doing that legally. It's the fact that it's often not done above board and the laws aren't being complied with. The best way to do it is to look at what the law says you can do and follow it. If everybody followed the law, of course, I'd be out of a job. But that's the problem, is people just don't do it the right way, and it leads to cases like this.
Since some people don't even know what birth tourism is and they're just kind of getting wind of, are there numbers? I mean, how big of the scope of this issue, of this problem? Are we talking in the thousands? Are we talking in the bigger than that?
Well, I wish I knew the exact numbers, because a lot of it flies under the radar. A lot of this type of thing is flying under the radar. But here's the catch. Obviously, we have laws saying you can't do this type of thing here. You can't commit fraud. But other countries don't have the same laws that we do. And that is why companies like this are able to take advantage of the laws in other countries and advertise this business where you could never get away with that here. The fact that we're talking about it is a step in the right direction, that everybody should know that you can't exploit the desires that some people may have to have a child in the United States. They can't do it by fraud, and they have to know that's illegal.
Wow. Okay. Wendy Patrick, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up here on